Hey, and welcome to Relationship Renegades on Fun for Life Radio. I'm one of your hosts, Rachele Brooke Smith.
And I'm Emilio Palafox.
And today we have a super special guest. This might get emotional, guys. Just get ready.
Oh, yeah. Rachele was already tearing up before we jumped on the radio show. We have here a good friend, but also an incredible human being and soul, Travis Richey. He is an entrepreneur, advisor, and motivational speaker. Having invested in over 25 startup companies the last 10 years, he knows a thing or two about success and, more importantly, failure on the road to success. Travis spent the first half of his career in the finance world, directing mergers and acquisitions globally for a hedge fund. At the age of 25, Travis directed a hedge fund with millions of dollars under management. And due to a regulatory oversight in the state of Arizona, he was charged with the transactions of an unregistered securities dealer and sentenced to 2 years in Arizona Department of Corrections. This 17,520 hours became the framework of Travis's new mission in life. Travis is teaching 1 billion people to break free of limitation. He's got a podcast that's incredible called The Convicted Life, and really is the #1 prison curriculum in the United States. Travis Richey, welcome to the show, brother.
Guys, thank you so much. Love you both. I can't thank you enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to jump right into it. You're doing some incredible things in the world, and I've been talking for a little bit, babe. Do you wanna kick us off?
Yeah, I really want to kick us off. I mean, first I want to celebrate you. You know, when we first started talking more with you and learning more about your mission and what you're doing, I mean, it brings me to tears just thinking about it. And I want to start from, I want people to know more about you and your story and why you're so passionate about helping the people that you're helping and your podcast and your mission and everything like that. Because I think it's a population that gets dismissed or forgotten about. What makes you so passionate about helping people that are incarcerated?
What makes me passionate about it was I spent time there. You know, when I grew up, I wasn't a troubled teen, as they say, right? I did things that all typical boys do growing up. But I wasn't on the path that I saw most of these guys go through, right? I didn't go to juvenile hall 4, 5, 6 times. You know, I didn't have that type of experience where this prison yard was my trajectory. You hear it all the time. It's more become like a moniker now where people go, oh, it was either, you know, prison or death for me in my neighborhood, right? It's a little bit extreme. For me, it wasn't that way. And so I never been arrested a day in my life, never done a drug a day in my life, you know, was just like a normal everyday guy living my dream. And so what made me passionate about it is I knew I could fix a problem. I would see this cycle over and over and over. I was in for a very small time. A lot of the guys that I interfaced with will never get out. I was in for a very small time. I saw guys, it was a revolving door. All right, what are my resources? I know a little bit about finance. I spent some time on Wall Street. I got a little bit about money. Okay, where can I apply my resources? And as I'm going through this thought process, boom, I get reclassified to a new yard. And every day I'm literally let out of the prison walls, out of the gate, each at the community college because of my degree, my MBA. Talk about an out-of-body experience just for a real brief segue here, right? Here you are.
Seriously.
Literally 60 days prior to this experience, I was removed from society, right? Now here I am in a prison jumpsuit, orange, teaching at a community college. I went from, 6 and 7 figures in tax paying and good citizen to 80 cents a day, right? And so very confusing. And so I thought, okay, this is a business. This is a business, right? If there's no packages to move, there's no people. There's no money. This is a business. So I started looking at it in that perspective. I thought, okay, so what do we need to do to fix this pain point? What do I have? Almost everybody who gets out of prison needs a vehicle. Everybody. They need to get to work. They need to get to their probation, parole. They need to see their parents, their loved ones, their kids, whatever. They go and find a car from a buy here, pay here lot. 28% interest rate. Some crazy individual gives them a 1964 Saturn, at $800 a month because why?
Wow.
Credit score.
Credit score, yeah.
I could fix that. I can fix FICO. I can fix FICO. So when I started running around the prison yard telling everybody, hey, I'm going to fix FICO, first of all, they thought that he was a gangbanger. And they didn't know what the 4-letter word I was screaming was. You know, it was very foreign to them. And so I thought, this is unbelievable. I have this opportunity to take this concept, FICO, Fair Isaac and Company, started in San Francisco, couple of dudes, credit score, 500, 850, depending on, like, boom, boom, boom. I'm putting all this together for them. They can walk out with a credit score and not have to go to the buy here, pay here, not have to sling drugs to pay for $800 a month, and not have to make poor decisions. I can fix that pain point.
Yes.
That's honestly, Rachel, that's where it started. That was as far as I went 10 years ago.
So powerful.
So powerful. And, you know, there's so many things that I want to talk about. First of all, for those of you listening, you guys are listening to Relationship Renegades on Fun for Life Radio, where we're interviewing Travis Richey. And the company that you're talking about right now, or that you do right now, is called Accomplished Ventures. And you're kind of hitting on some of the points that when you left the prison system and kind of say, hey, how can I help these individuals? I love that you guys do it in various categories, where it's financial literacy that you're talking about, these entrepreneur programs, physical and mental wellness programs. But before we dive into all of that, and if for those listening, stay tuned, because we are going to dive deep into that. But right before we leave to all of this and talk about what you do for the world here, is there was something that you sent, like kind of like the mind fuck that goes on. Not only you said from you know, living the 6-7 figures, going to be incarcerated, and then even during that time period to then being let off the yard to like go teach for a little bit, like all of that, right? So one of the things you said was descent. And I often think about the hero's journey when I think about this, right? Because the hero's journey, like in short, would be 4 things to me. It's like the descent from society, like the removal of all who you think you are, right? And then there's a descent from all that. Well, not the descent. They're kind of that taking away from all of that. Then there's the descent, right? Where you kind of go into the deep abyss, like to face yourself, if you will, right? And then you have this ordeal. Like, what is it that you're faced with at that point in that descent? And then there's once you learn the lessons and figured things out, right? Then there's the ascension.
Hopefully.
And then kind of back into society, kind of with your new self, if you will. When I talk about this kind of hero's journey, I'd love to just kind of start here a little bit. Like when you were in the prison system, and you talked a little bit about it because you have a business mindset. But whether it's business mindset, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, what are some things that you had in the descent and the ordeal before you ascended?
A ton of reflection inside. Tons of reflection. When you go inside and you're sitting in a 5x7 concrete cell, all you can do is think. And then after you've done enough thinking, then you start writing. Walk yourself through this process. And so you're literally sitting in this holding cell. The worst part about going to prison isn't the prison yard. It's the prior to. It's the 21 days. You know, I had never spent any time incarcerated. So they spent about a month plus or minus, you know, taking you through the holding pattern. And I call it the point where you just kind of, each day you're kind of stripped of your morals and values little by little. You know, it starts with your clothes, then it's your hair, you know, then it's your identity, right? You're kind of just like stripped of your morals and values. And then you're desensitized and let out onto the prison yard. So you really have this time to reflect. And so I had this, I'll tell you a true story. We were eight bunks, okay? 2, 4, 6, 8. 8 bunks, 1 toilet, 17 individuals in that room, all in holding cells, okay? Holding tank. And so based on when you came into that holding tank was how you got a bunk, how you got a bed, okay?
Wow.
Your length of time. So if you'd been there longer, you know, you kind of moved up the hierarchy of the chain. And so at this time, I was sleeping on the floor with a mat, and I knew I could get this little tiny number 2 pencil, this little disheveled number 2 pencil, and 5 pieces of paper. And so I started writing, And I started writing to Melissa, my wife. I started writing to Melissa, telling her about my day. And I originally started telling her because I wanted her to be comforted. But I quickly realized that experience was cathartic for me. That was my therapy while I was in there. And so on day 3, as I'm writing down, this individual is, he's on the top bunk above me, and he's waiting for a phone call. waiting for a phone call. He's nervous. He's pacing. He's back. He's to the bunk. He's back. He's to the bunk. He's nervous. He's pacing. And we all can feel this level of anxiety. And he was waiting. This individual was waiting for a visit. And that visit never came. His family was involved in a car accident on the way to visit him. And that was my first time I wrote down on paper how grateful I was to be incarcerated. Levels of gratitude, knowing my family was safe, although they weren't with me. Knowing, right? You've got your heart in your chest. You've got 2 lungs. You literally start to take the baseline of life, 10 fingers, 10 toes, healthy, functioning heart, great mind, and here's all of the shit that I'm grateful for. And it was just this literal rebirth on this piece of paper, finding out, okay, what is everything? What does all of this mean? And that literally happened about 10 days into this experience.
10 days into the experience. Wow. So powerful. Man, there's so much that comes up for me. And I want everyone listening, the show is called Relationship Renegades for a reason, and it's about all relationships, relationship to self, others, to the world around you. And I think this moment that you went through, I honestly hope that at some point in everyone's life, they go through a moment like that. And I hope that it's early on, because I think that it's one of the greatest gifts of life is to be able to be so grateful for all the little things to the point where you feel so rich. Like you feel like you have so much when you literally could, to someone else, look like you have nothing. Like, to me, gratitude is such a superpower. Like, it's alchemy. It turns what you don't have into what you do have. And even in that moment, right? Like, you are in jail and you are like, I'm so grateful to be alive. I'm so grateful for my body. I'm so grateful just to breathe. It's powerful. And for anyone listening that's going through a hard time, like, man, like, somebody, like, I don't know, there's that statement, right? Like, someone always has it worse than you and someone has always better than you, but that you could always find something to be grateful for. And when it comes to, we really consider you such a relationship renegade, because you took, again, this whole group of undeserved people and you're like, no, like, I'm going to create this relationship with them. I'm going to make them feel safe, seen, heard, and loved. And that's like the core of Relationship Renegades, safe, seen, heard, and loved. And so when you were incarcerated, I'm really curious as to, were you able to make good relationships? Did you feel like you were able to connect with anyone? Like, what was it like in that sort of environment when it comes to making friendships or creating a tribe? Or did you have to be just all on your own to protect your peace? Like, what was that like?
So you had a couple different pieces while incarcerated. The exercise component, the routine, if you will. I gravitated towards a couple of individuals that I just saw consistently doing the same thing every day. And I thought, okay, right, in life, generally the people that have a good routine and good habits, they don't fall off the wagon. And if they do, they generally, correct themselves and have a tribe to pull them back. And I thought, okay, that's a good place for me to gravitate towards while I was on the yard. Find these individuals that were into the exercise, that were into the routine, that were there the same day, same time, right? So that was the first thing that I felt like I was a part of. And it wasn't premeditated. Again, I really had no concept of what this journey would feel like. I just thought, okay, I need to align myself as close as possible with some individuals who think like I do. So that was step one. But by total fluke accident, to answer your question, my relationships came because of that college. So a little bit, prison dichotomy here. When I was the professor, if you will, all 5 of the different prison yards came to that college. So I had this status, if you will, on the prison yard because I disseminated information. I gave knowledge away. And so I had a class I was teaching, and I was able to communicate with all the other yards. So in prison terms, I was valuable. Okay. But what I realized was that as I started to probe these guys and push them to different thought processes, and I would say, why are you thinking in this manner? Why wouldn't you think in this way? Why wouldn't you think in these terms? When your loved ones are coming down for a visitation, why do you think that they're leaving you? Why don't you take that visitation as an example to what you can turn it into? And so I would start changing, like rewiring their thinking almost. And what I realized real quickly was that relationship was formed between us. There was this bond of trust where they would come back and they'd say, okay, Travis has given me this real financial information, which is super useful, but I would also always try to like interweave my own personal values and morals into there. You know, if you've got somebody on the phone that you're able to call, like that's a gigantic value in prison. How are you talking to that person? How are you picking up the phone? So many of these guys live with so much trauma and they don't know how to experience it. They don't know how to communicate it. Totally. So when they feel a certain way from a loved one on the other side of a phone call, and I coined this phrase way before prison, but it was so relevant. You never read an email as it was sent. You read it as you are.
Yeah.
Today's world, right? We're all running around with these stupid things, you know, these phones attached to our fingers. And you might be on the plane on the tarmac for 90 minutes reading my text message like eye roll. But I didn't mean it that way. It was how you took it. It's how you received it in the space that you were in. And so I would start talking to these guys. Before I knew it, it was really like the lieutenant called me up to the office one day and said, hey, man, like, what is going on out at the yard? Like, we went from 13 students to now a waiting list of 13 students. Everybody's getting on the bus to go out there. Like, amazing. What's going on? Can you help me with my 401k? And I said, dude, I don't think it's that. I honestly believe that when we're attaching a purpose to these cats, when we're saying, okay, why do you think you're here? Everybody would say, oh, I want to be successful. Great. What does it look like? What does it taste like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? What color is it? How much money? Is it $1? A $1 bill doesn't keep you warm. What does money stand for? What is success represented to? You want to be a good father. What is that? Is that a provider? Is that a hunter? Is that a gatherer? Is that a lover? What is that? And you literally have these like spiritual experiences with these cats on a prison yard, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, didn't matter. And they would all be like, dude, I just want to get better.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautifully said, man. And I hope that everyone really listens to exactly what you just said, you know, this past minute, like so much, past 2 minutes, really. I think right now, this is such a relevant message. So I love what you're saying here for so many reasons. You know, right now, the state of the economy, the state of the union, right? We're labeling things, we're canceling things, we're instead of coming together, we're separating ourselves from each other. There's like anti-vax and vaxxed and like there's all these things. And there's black and white and these lives matter, but these don't. And just all the things that are happening right now in this society. And it's like at the end of the day, we're all earthlings, a part of this earth, right? You're speaking to humanity, which I love. And here's the thing, right? These are humans. And this speaks to me too, because, you know, my dad grew up with a lot of mental health issues. There's lots of people who grow up and they become a product of their environment, whatever it may be. And, you know, you can take, you know, 3 different people, same situation, right? One's going to go route A, route B, route C for various reasons. But at the end of the day, we're all humans and you're speaking to these people as humans. You can tell that you care. You're trying to say, why do you think that way? Asking powerful questions, really like expanding their mind, which is beautiful in just any conversation, right? Because then you're establishing that trust and people don't trust each other these days. And so 1, that's beautiful. But 2, I just want like the masses to continually know, right? Like, let's stop separating. Let's come together. And I think, some of the things that you shared are really, really speaking to that. So the question that's coming from this for me is, I can't, because of the state of the economy. And then when we're talking about the incarcerated, I can't imagine the perspectives of what people are thinking about these people coming in, re-entering into society and, you know, whether or not they believe in second chances or third chances or what have you. But my question is, for those listening, what do you want the masses to know about these individuals? Because they probably already made judgments, but you spend time and time and time again with these people very intimately, right? What do you want the masses to know about these individuals?
So much. Try to consolidate it in less than a minute.
No, let it all out, man.
I'll say a couple things. I'll talk on a couple different topics. What I would like the individuals to know from a spiritual perspective is that on this mortal journey, I believe if we remain bonded to a higher power through all of our trials and tribulations, if we understand that man's extremity is God's opportunity, and if we humble ourselves and we remain faithful to the idea that there is this belief and that we don't curse God for our problems, I believe he can turn the unfair and the inhumane and the debilitating prisons of our lives into comfort and revelation and divine companionship and peace.
So powerful.
So beautiful, so beautiful. I hope we just take a moment to pause for everyone listening right now and really soak that in.
Yeah, I just, I love the way that you phrase that, right? That I think one of my favorite quotes is, you can't get wet from the word water. And I think a lot of people have these judgments or these stereotypes with the word God, and it's like, it means so many different things to different people. And for some people, it means something great. For other people, it comes with a lot of like hate, shame, guilt, all that kind of stuff. But I love that you said that we all have our own relationship with our higher power, like whatever that means to you. And that it's not from any other, like someone telling you what it is. It's from your own personal experience of having faith in something greater than yourself that is guiding you and helping you and supporting you. And what that can do for someone's life, especially in the darkest of dark moments, is just, obviously it's life-changing. And that's a choice, right? Like everyone listening, we all have a choice. Like you can choose to believe whatever you want, but whatever you choose to believe will become real for you. And it's just like, do you want to, it's just a choice. And I think that's really powerful. And I love that you spoke to the people that were incarcerated. What about the people that might have a judgment about, like, to outside society about people that are in prison? What would you want the masses to know about them? Like when your experience, obviously you are one, right? Like you were incarcerated. What do you want the masses to know? What do you want the masses to know that they might not know, right? We don't know what we don't know. We make judgments off of our just like programming and media and different stuff. But what updated programming can you give us about people who have been incarcerated?
One of the things that I like to teach these guys is the word felon is nothing more than a noun, right? Bald hair, brown hair, beautiful long hair. When you put an adjective in front of that noun, it gives that word perspective. Anybody who I believe that has a judgment about certain people in society, it's because they don't have the proper perspective. That I usually come in contact with who has a stereotype about people that are incarcerated, I am able to walk them through a couple different things. There's 20% of the incarcerated community that deserves to be there, period. I'll say it, I've met them, I don't like them, I don't agree with them, they belong to be there. Then you have 20% of the other side of the incarcerated community that's a victim of circumstance. There's one going around right now about the young man who was a truck driver. His brakes went out, he killed a bunch of people, 4 people, and he just got sentenced to 110 years. That individual knows that was a bad experience. You don't need to rehabilitate that human. He knows that was bad, right? He knows that was an accident. But this down the middle, this down the middle 60% of folks, these people are typically lacking the resources that you and I take for granted on a daily basis.
Totally.
If you're judging that individual based on where they've ended up in life, number one, be grateful that you didn't get caught for the crazy shit that you've done in your life.
Totally. Yeah.
And number two, just understand that, as I like to preach, biography is not destiny. One of the things that you said earlier, you have 3 different people, three people from the same neighborhood, who go 3 different paths. I like to take that a little bit deeper because I've talked with all 3 of these guys, proverbial speaking. I've talked with these cats. And so the reason that you have 3 different outcomes, I believe, gospel according to Travis, the reason I believe it happens is because the narrative. So the narrative that you've told yourself is, I only had 2 options, prison or, cemetery. But then you have those other individuals whose narrative is, wait. Remember so-and-so's uncle who got out of this situation, who went and made something of himself? And so you've told yourself that story. Like, if this guy can do it, then I can do it. If he's from the neighborhood and I'm from the neighborhood and he's done it, then I can do it. And so your belief system is a different narrative. And so this path over here, prison or cemetery, isn't in your belief system. It's not in your narrative. You're not telling yourself, you're not accepting it. And so that's why you have this different outcome.
Yeah.
So powerful. And that always goes down to identity too. I think one of the most powerful human like behavioral, the thing that's driving human behavior is identity, you know, like who you believe you are and why you believe that and what do you think is possible for you or not. But it's all stories. Like it's literally all stories. And it's like it's like as if, you know, someone never saw a Disney movie. They wouldn't know what it was. Like, right. It's like if someone never heard the concept. Oh man, someone else. That's why I think people like you give so much hope, right? Like everyone who listens to your podcast, like anyone who hears your story, like, and that's why I think even like the power of film and storytelling is so freaking important because hearing one story of someone who was kind of similar to you and got through it and made something of themselves, it could mean everything to someone just to know that it's possible. And so I just celebrate you for being that for so many people who maybe don't have that.
Yeah.
So rapid fire question number 1. What do you believe your greatest superpower is?
Empathy.
Beautiful.
I love that. I agree. All right. Number 2.
Number 2. Who is your inspiration and why?
Oh boy. My wife.
And why?
Why?
Yeah.
I outkicked my coverage on that one.
All right.
I love it so much. Okay. What was a film that changed your life?
Wall Street, the original Wall Street.
Gordon Gekko, huh?
You got it.
That was a good one. We saw that one in finance class. I'm also finance major. I remember that.
What's up, guys? Relationship Renegades here.
Yo. As you guys know, it's really important. We're always talking about how to fuel your mind, body, and spirit so that you feel really good so that you can show up better in your relationships.
Yeah, because it's really hard to show up well in your relationships if you're feeling crappy. You know, if you're feeling like you're not getting enough sleep, if you're feeling stressed out, if you're feeling fatigued.
The number 1 mineral that actually helps beat all of that stuff is, drum roll, magnesium, baby.
And not just any kind of magnesium, because here's the thing. Most people are actually magnesium deficient and they don't even know it. Because you might be taking a magnesium supplement, but guess what? They're not all made the same. And a lot of them actually fail because they're synthetic and or they have preservatives.
So as you just saw, the one that we love and that we take daily is Magnesium Breakthrough by Biooptimizers. What they do a really good job is they actually combine the 7 essential forms of magnesium all in one supplement so that you're sleeping better, sleeping deeper actually, stressing less, being more peaceful throughout the day, and just more relaxed.
This one action of taking quality magnesium, you're going to get a serious upgrade. Everything from your brain, you're thinking better, obviously you're sleeping better, you're having less muscle tension, as well as pain and inflammation.
If you're interested, go to magnesiumbreakthrough.com/renegades to get 10% discount.
Use coupon code RENEGADES10.
Yes.
Because we only talk about things that we actually love, use, and really believe in.
This is a big one.
And this quality magnesium has really, really helped me obviously get better sleep, stress less. I actually really used to have a lot of anxiety that obviously we use our tools and strategies that we talk about on the show. But if you're deficient in magnesium,
it's a big deal.
It's a big deal and a big difference. And especially for all you women out there that are on your cycles, one of the biggest things that help make those cycles a lot better
is this
magnesium. So since I started taking this, I really did have an improvement in my cycles where they were less painful, less long, less cramps, less emotional mood swings. So just highly recommend this magnesium.
For me, when I took this magnesium supplement, at first I started just waking up about 30 minutes to an hour before my alarm clock, and I still do, you know, which was really nice because I feel relaxed, I feel energized, and I can actually start the day earlier, get a lot of stuff done, and also show up better for my relationships.
And really just overall mood. I feel like since we've been taking it, it's just been like our overall mood is just better.
We live fast-paced lives as digital nomads, and what's beautiful about this is that it's kind of like, I think just peace is a great word. Like we're just a lot more peaceful through our high-paced life.
Yes.
And that matters not only for our business but for us.
Able to handle stress, right? Because let's just face it, this world is stressful, and taking this quality magnesium can really help with that. So if you have any questions, comments, please let us know and go
Can
click
I say one more thing,
the
baby
link
love?
in the description.
Can I say one more thing?
Okay.
What's really cool about this, we talk about this all the time because it's serious. There's all the supplements out there in the world. The number one thing that's like a foundation that creates really fertile soil for your life and everything that you're birthing out there, personally or professionally, is truly magnesium. It's the number 1 mineral. Get the right one. Yes. You want to check this out. The link is in the description, as my love just said.
Yes, and again, to use that code Renegades10 for 10% off.
Yes, we love you guys. We'll see you on the other side. If you could say one thing to God, source, universe, whatever you want to call it, higher power, right? What would you say?
I'd like to make a request that Oreo cheesecake has the same calories as asparagus spears.
Yes. That's okay.
We need to know this.
Yes.
Yes.
It's important. I think a lot of people would have that request.
I mean, oof.
So good.
Good request.
Yeah, that was super fun. Okay, let's dive deep back into
Dive right back
the
here.
principles and the things that you guys are doing in your company, because it really is so profound and powerful.
So Accomplished Ventures, tell us more about that. You guys do so much in and out of the prison. You know, whatever comes up, because I'm sure there's so many things that you guys do. Please share what's kind of the most up-to-date things that people need to know about as to what Accomplished Ventures does. Yeah,
the most exciting stuff that's going on behind the prison walls is twofold. One, it's the entrepreneurship. So we have a 12-week prison-style Shark Tank course where we walk these inmates through how to build a business, you know, their purpose, their passion, their vision, how to raise capital, you know, and it's pretty cool. The ideas that come out of the prison system are pretty rad. And then on week 12, we invite their friends and their family members in through visitation. We cater the event. We bring in some individuals from the community, business bankers, you know, mayors, politicians, and then they judge, you know, this prison style Shark Tank. That has been one of the most powerful and the most connective programs that we've ever done, because you have all races sitting at all tables on a prison yard thinking about how to change the world. And it truly is incredible. I started on what they term a level 4 180 yard, which means they're not getting out ever. They're doing all day, as they say. And the first time I went in a decade ago, you know, I had a stab vest on because they didn't really know how this was going to go. And a decade later, you know, we fill up chapels, we fill up chow halls. You know, I've put 600 guys in a room before. And what the directors and the wardens really quickly realized was they could wake up every day and figure out how to fist fight and stab, or they could wake up every day and figure out how to put their mind to use. So that entrepreneur program is really, really dope and really changing lives. The second thing that I'm heavy right now on is the mental health. They're just, it's hard to really articulate this to folks properly, but and to do it politically correctly. The prison system was told that the departments of correction, not federal, were told that if they got to a certain percentage of vaccination, then they could have visitation. They got to that percentage, and that has been withheld from them, because what was not taken into account was all of the other individual staff members, et cetera, who are unwilling to get vaccinated. And if everybody's hearing, I could care less about your vax. I don't care. I don't care at all whether you are or you aren't. I'm not that guy. What I am is, you told me one thing, you didn't follow through. Right. Period. Right. And second to that is, you know, I mean, you guys, you know, in a relationship, we're talking about 2 years without human contact. And it's really hard to put into words what that does to a person's psyche. You're living in a 5x7. You already have everything stripped of you. You know, what if I just went down? What if I just got incarcerated? You know, forget about the guys that have been here for 10 years and this is a routine, or 2 years. But what if I'm 18 years old? What if I just miss my mom? Right? Like, these are real stories that are really happening. And so, you know, there's a lot of death and there's a lot of destruction that's happening behind these walls. And so I'm heavy on the mental perspective right now. I'm heavy on the breath work. We've got a ton of really good, I call it chicken soup for the incarcerated soul, waiting to be sued, by the way. I met Mark Victor Hansen recently. Fantastic guy. But maybe I make that connection so that, I would love that. So it's a 30-minute nighttime routine. You guys know the importance of routines and meditation. I know you guys personally. And so it's this 30-minute routine to walk them through a guided meditation and a guided breath work. And then it just ends with 10 minutes of optimism. Let's talk about, very, very simple stuff. And if these guys can go to sleep this way, it's just my hope and prayer that changes some perspectives and eliminates a few bad decisions. The third thing, the last thing that I'm really, really optimistic about, where's the future going for Accomplished, is we're now taking individuals and bringing resources behind the prison walls. Let me give you an example. There's one particular Department of Correction where we've established a media lab. And so they have recording equipment, they've got podcasting equipment, cameras, they do their own podcasts for the yard, for the state. And so I said, okay, what if this individual could create, behind walls, could create the intro for Relationship Renegades? And then when this individual gets out, this is a much different conversation with a potential employer. Look at my resume on Apple, iTunes, Spotify. Look at the people that I've dealt with behind the prison walls. Look at the skills that I've formed behind here. And as we all know, digital technology is the way of the future. And so whether it's getting these guys skills behind the wall so they can then create a Fiverr account, and create their own side hustle, or really go into, production and media and marketing, I'm very, very, very optimistic. We've done a few of these. I'm very optimistic, and I'll put this out here for your listeners as well. I would love, if we could pull this off, I would love for you guys to interview an incarcerated individual behind prison walls with me.
That would be really cool.
That'd be powerful.
I would love that so much. I think that'd be so powerful. And I want and I just love this concept of giving them opportunities. Like if they're going to show up, right? Like I'd be so down to be like, create our intro. We need one, to be able to give people opportunity and be able to help bring them back to where they could be. Because I know a lot of people listening, and this came up for me while you were talking. Some people might be listening and being like, when you were talking about, like they couldn't see their mom for 2 years, or they couldn't, they were not in good mental health. Some people listening might be like, they deserve it, right? Like they're in prison for a reason. What if they killed? What if they murdered my mom? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, and I just also, and yes, like you said, 20% of people might deserve there, but there's a huge percent of people in there that, and even that, look, I really want people to listen to think about this concept that like all of the things that people do is based on unhealed trauma. They taught the principles. They didn't learn how to deal with, if something terrible happens to you as a little kid and you're in an abusive household, that their parents, something happened to them, you never got taught how to handle life in a healthy way. And so of course things are going to happen. Of course you're going to respond in a survival mode, and you don't know what to do, and you're going to mess up. And like, I just have such a heart for people who end up in these terrible situations. And yes, they had a choice. Yes, they could choose different, but like they didn't know what they didn't know, and they were never taught, or like they went through trauma that was unhealed. Like, and so, I hope people listening, if you had that judgment, to also remember that like, there's a lot of people, the majority. So it's just, all it is unhealed trauma.
Tons.
Yeah. And I want to see what you had to say right there. I just wanted to say that's one of the main themes of Relationship Renegades is seek to understand, right? Because we just seek to understand, right? Not only in this big conversation, but everything going on in the world. Like you don't know, like, we're just looking at each other right now on screen, and it's like, hey, we may look okay, but like, you don't know if my mom died yesterday. You don't know if like you have no idea what that person is going through in their mind or what they went through. Not to mention, there's conversations and stories, and they've done research on this where like kids will like, maybe it's like they have so much aggression or something like that, and they're hitting people, whatever. Then they like analyze their brain. They're actually missing a piece of their brain. And then they like fix that piece. And then all of a sudden he's the kindest person ever. Like there's all these factors that create a human, and you're kind of putting a human back together again. So it's like, if you got the right pieces and the right recipe, then you're going to show up well in society. You're going to show up well. And so, I just I want to hear what you had to say after Rachel said that, but I wanted to just say that, seek to understand. I can't share that enough, but.
That's it. It's really powerful. I'm writing it down. No, it really is. One of the things that I say on the heels of your seek to understand is in order to have what you really want, you must first be who you really are.
I
And
love that.
and to me, that kind of is another. There's so much similarities here.
So much
I always talk about like lose your super, or we do in relation to lose your Superman to find your woman, but it doesn't even have to be Wonder Woman, to find your peace, love, joy, happiness, blessings, whatever. And it's kind of like when you remove all this programming that you've had that wasn't good, right? It's like what you just said, to find out who you really are. Like, we're all these unlimited, beautiful beings.
How do you do that? Someone listening right now is like, what do you mean who I really am? Like, how would you help someone? What advice would you give them? Like, how would someone figure out who they really are?
Such a good question. And I think where they start, first of all, if they're listening to this podcast or listening to this radio show, it's a great start. One of the things that I believe we don't talk enough about is trauma. We believe, to your point, Emilio, when I tell people, if we treated 80% of the folks that we meet like they just went through some huge trauma, we'd be right more than half the time.
Yeah.
We really would. Like, it's such a divided world right now. It's so contentious. Anyways, total sidebar. To answer your question, Rachel, I think the simplest thing is when I walk these guys through, like, what does it look like? I use the term reverse engineering. And so the whole adage of, like, tigers and leopards and stripes and spots, they never change. And well, good news for us, we are not damn jungle animals.
Yeah.
All of these analogies that I think we've grown up with, like, you hear this all the time, like, I'm burnt out. Bro, you're not a candle. You're not burnt out. You're uninspired. Right? The only difference between feedback and criticism is the way you feel it and process it. So I reverse engineer these cats. And I go, okay, so if you're going through something right now, something that's crazy, this is gonna sting. I'm gonna say it out loud, but I hope you stay with me, folks. It sounds terrible, but I get through it and it hopefully makes sense. When you're talking about your struggles, when you're talking about your depression, for example, and you wrote all of the things down, I can't do this. This is unfair. I can't do this. I don't do this. I don't have this. If you wrote all of the thoughts down that you had on a daily basis and viewed them objectively, you would be looking at a very selfish individual. And let me go a little bit further. I believe we need to serve others to get out of those negative rituals. When you're in the service of other people, the simplest of things, the nice words that you can articulate. How many people listening send 5 text messages a day of gratitude to everybody or anybody in their contact list? Simple sentences. Grateful for you, brother. Appreciate you, sister. Love you. Those simple things, when you stack those wins every day, those 5 things every day, you can't help but to be grateful. You can't help but to not be depressed. So you really got to get out of yourself. That's what I tell these people. And I know that can come off a little bit harsh, and that's not my goal. But sometimes a little bit of tough love and a little bit of kick in the pants works. And so when you sit down and you go, here's everything that I'm crying about, I need to go and serve somebody else tomorrow. You're going to get out of that mode.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more, man. And beautifully said again. And I love the action-oriented gratitude.
Yeah, actually,
right?
and I want to challenge everybody listening. Like, if you're listening right now, and I'm going to commit to doing this, I'm trying to do this on a regular basis, but like really intentionally every day, have a reminder on my phone. Like, did you send your 5 gratitude texts today? Because I've been on the other side of that. When randomly I get a message from someone I haven't heard from in a while, just like loving on me or appreciating me, it changes my whole day.
Yeah.
You got it.
And so whoever's down, like, let us know if you're down, like, go on our social media and be like, I'm taking the challenge, like 5 text challenge, like a day. Babe, are you down? You want to do it with me?
I'm totally good. I'm going to do that today.
Yes. And
that's all we have is today and right now. And
when you dive deeper into it, when you dive deeper into like self-doubt and anxiety and depression, they boil down to habits. You put yourself into a habit that made you feel a certain way, right? And we all know this. You guys have done the cold plunge. You guys know the research behind the dopamine and the endorphins and all of the release that comes with literally letting yourself go to a place of vulnerability. Yeah. And so these are habits. These are routines. And the good news is you can break them.
Yes.
I think the problem that most people have that are listening, and the three of us included, the biggest problem that we have is we think we shouldn't have a problem.
Yeah. Very true.
Powerful. So powerful.
And we need the problems, because if we never had any problems, there was this, I think Ray Dalio once told Tony Robbins this story, and I won't share the whole story because it's a long story, but the essence was like, we'll pause. So the story was this guy, had died, and he's a just degenerate gambler, according to the story. And he like wakes up, and he's like the most famous story. And I'm going to really quickly tell this, but like wakes up in the top hotel in Las Vegas, and he's like, he goes into his entire room and everything's decked out, right? He's got everything. He opens the door. There's all these women. They take him down. He's got everything. And he goes and gambles. He's winning. And he goes through every single day. And it's like, blackjack 21, you win. Blackjack 21, you win. And he's got the girls. He goes back home. He just parties, eats all the great food, and he's like doing this for like day by day, but he's just winning, having a great time, no problems. Like a week and a half in, he's like, they're like, blackjack 21, you win. And he's like, God, I always win. What the heck is going on? He's like, this is ridiculous. And he's like, I thought this was, because he had died, right? He's like, I thought this was heaven. And the dealer is like, who said you were in heaven? And it was like, and if you think about like, whoa, what if we were in this world where like everything was always great and everything was always great, you got everything you were, would it really be good? Like some of the right, yeah, like these problems, right? I often feel this very much, that suffering allows me to appreciate every moment of my life.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like people who don't suffer, and it's not to say like, oh, you need to suffer and all this kind of stuff, but what happens, and you've spoken to this entire podcast, is like when you reframe and you reverse engineer and all these things you're talking about, like, man, like allow those moments, because those are the moments you start to really appreciate all the things. And those are people who have gone through so much. They're beautiful human beings in my mind. They're like, they're some of the most grateful and some of the most giving and some of the most
powerful. Like even your story, like you were able to literally help people in a way that no one else could, because you went through it. And I think that it is just such a superpower. And that really gets us into a second segment, which is one of my favorite segments, which is called the Renegade Moment.
Yeah.
And so Renegade Moment, right? It's called Relationship Renegades for a reason, because it's all about being a renegade. And being a renegade is choosing differently, thinking differently. So what was a time for you, Travis, where maybe you were stuck in a loop and you kept doing the same things over and over again, and then finally like enough was enough, and you finally made a different decision that changed the trajectory of your life? So what was that renegade moment for you?
I knew that I did not want to ever feel uncertain about my life. That renegade moment for me, I was in prison visitation with my wife, and I said, there is no way that I'm not turning this mess into a message. And from that moment forward, I told her every conversation that we have, every visitation, because she came down every weekend, every visitation is going to be enshrouded in optimism and planning for the future.
Gosh, that's so profound. And I just have to ask, like,
mess into a message.
What was you and your wife are still together through all this?
Yeah, 14 years. Yeah.
What was that like for her? Can you share a little bit of the journey, like as relationship renegades, right? So that in itself, the fact that you guys are still together after you were incarcerated,
taking road trips, by the way, to Yellowstone with their kiddos, and like really appreciating every moment.
Living the dream.
I love that you use magical and epic. And I read that, but I was like, it's so beautiful, and that you really are appreciating every moment. But I don't want to take away from the question.
You have to. No, you have to. Yeah, 14 years, 4 beautiful little kids, 1 boy, 3 girls. Life is. I feel like, true story, I feel like I'm playing with house money every day I wake up.
That's awesome.
So beautiful. Well, can you get into what that was like for you guys when you first got in your relationship, and how you dealt with it? And because maybe someone's listening right now, right? Like maybe they're going through something similar. And what advice would you give to a couple that might be going through something like that?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it sucked. I'm not going to sugarcoat any of it. It was terrible. The unknown, we didn't plan for it. It wasn't, anyways, the unknown is just horrible, 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 horrible. But I'll tell you what we did was we wrote we wrote, we journaled constantly. And ironically, in the home that I'm in today, traveling, these are literal, this is totally unstaged, but like every letter that we wrote, she put these together. And so we're creating a book around them, you know, to help individuals that have gone through, literally, like, even to the point of like, this is hilarious that this is here, but like, this is the visitation form, because all of these things that are unknown for a wife, like, how do I visit my husband? I've never been to a prison. What do I say? What do I do? Do I knock on the door? Anyhow, I digress.
Yeah.
What it was it made us understand, like, we literally started reverse engineering our relationship. What is this going to look like on the other side? It sucked. We Melissa and I lost more money and more friends than I would even like to account for. The people that judged us, judged me, you know, very much a Beauty and the Beast type scenario, me being the beast. You know, she comes from a very, you know, very prominent family, a very tiny city, you know, perfect little upbringing, if you will, you know, and then fast forward to this, you know, boom, no matter what the story is, it's not cool. Your husband's incarcerated. So it was tough. It was tough. It was very tough. It took a lot of conversation to figure out, like, what is this going to mean to us? And so what I would tell people, what we did was we learned to control the narrative. And so one of the things that I would say, you know, you'd have individuals, literally, my son last night told me, he said, hey, my teacher, Mrs. So-and-so is going through a divorce. Those things to me are, I would take my prison experience over a divorce any day of the day, any day of the week. That's what I'm built for, right? My one-on-one with my higher power, with my God, was, if anything is coming my family's way in this life, I want it on these shoulders. And so that has been a little bit of comfort for us. The second thing, from a realistic perspective, life is like a Netflix show. It's got great music. It's got a villain. It's got an up and a down and a climax and an ending, and right. The first 3 chapters might be a little bit slow, but that's why you watch it. And that's what your life is about. If your life was just subpar for 60, 70 years, and then you ended up in a cemetery, allegedly, like, what story is that? The stories that we love to talk about, the Rudies of the world, right? The football movie, right. The underdog, the comeback, you know, the individuals that clawed their way to victory. You know, when you sit around the water cooler of life, you talk about the harrowing journeys of life. You don't go, my gosh, you know, it was so difficult to get out of bed today at about 9:30 in my silk sheets. I'm not sure what to do for the rest of it. Nobody talks about it. If they do, they're in a mental institution. But like, the realities of life are like, I scratched and clawed, and you guys know it. You guys do this every day. You guys put content out there. And I'm sure you guys have been in that situation, if you're still not there, where you're like, I don't want to post this. I look like an idiot. My hair's too long. I should have shaved today. Rachel's probably like, oh, I'm 2.5 pounds overweight at 109 pounds. Like, you have all of these, right? You have all of this self-talk that nobody sees, because why? Rachel's doing her V-ups, you know, with her 19 pack of abs over here. Right. And so it's like, you have all of this in your head. Yeah. And you just got to, like, stop. We just got to reverse engineer and go, okay, where are we going with life? What's it mean to us? Balance is bullshit. You never in a year, I've never met anybody who's got mental, physical, financial, emotional, spiritual, all spinning at the same time perfectly.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a good year financially.
But
we all try. But here's the thing. If we get there, Emilio, and you know this, if we get there, we push harder. We go faster.
Then you have to up level.
Exactly. Yes.
I know. We got to have this all constant message and reminders for ourselves, right? Like, there is no there.
Yeah.
No.
Right? It's just right here, guys. Let's enjoy it.
The balance is bullshit, because I think a lot of people like get so hard on themselves because they feel like they should be balanced, right? Like, I should feel like I have everything together, or like I'm going to get there one day. And the truth is like, no, you're not.
No.
Stop aiming for that. Like, do the best you can and be aware of what you got to work on. But like, know that it's not going to be perfect. It never will be. And I think it's huge. And I just want to thank you for talking about, like, your life as a movie, because I talk about that all the time, right? Like the superhero's journey. And if anyone going through a challenge right now, if you can just remember that that's just a scene, like that's a scene. And like, what are you going to make that scene out to be? You know, like, are you going to be the hero that all of a sudden is like, it's too hard, I can't do it, and just like crawl under a rock and cry? Because if you did, then like, what kind of movie is that? That's people will walk out of the theater, you know?
Exactly.
I really appreciate that you brought that up, because that has helped me so much in the most challenging times.
Yeah. And for those of you just listening, you're listening to Relationship Renegades on Fun for Life Radio, where we're talking with Travis Richey, really teaching 1 billion people to break free of limitation. He's got a podcast called The Convicted Life and the #1 prison curriculum in the United States. And we've been talking about so many incredible things. You know, one of the things that there's been many essences of this show so far, but one of the things that I wanted to mention earlier about all the things that you're doing inside the prison, but also outside as they get reintroduced to life again is, and I'm going to chop down the quote because I forget who it's from and what it is, but the essence is like, you treat a person or a man or a woman the way
you treat the human. You treat the disease, you win, you lose. You treat the human, you win.
Yeah.
Say it again.
Yeah.
You treat the disease, you win, you lose. You treat the human, you win.
Oh, I love that one. That's not the one that I was thinking about, but I'm glad that you said that. And it's kind of similar, but it was like, you treat someone as you see him or whatever, and you'll kind of make the same. If you treat him as you know that of what he could be, then he'll become that. Like, it's like, you know, if kind of the questions that you were asking, like some of these individuals in the yard, like, why do you think that way? What about this? And you're expanding their brain of like, you see the potential of this man in front of you or woman in front of you. And you know the potential that he or she can be, and you challenge them and you open their mind. And it's like, you look at them and treat them as if who you know that they could be, and they'll become that. You treat them as the perspective as you have of who they were in the past or who they are now, then, you know, it's hard to really obtain that. Right. So I think it's just kudos to you for really seeing the potential and seeing them that way and treating them that way. Because I think in society, we just don't do that. You know?
Well, and I'll tell you why. I believe a lot of times why we don't do that is because we don't subscribe to this unlimited idea. We believe that if I treat somebody to their best potential, it might take something away from me.
Powerful. It's really powerful.
Very true.
Yeah, I would love to challenge everyone listening. Like, what if every person you saw, you spoke to their potential rather than their past? You know, like just even that alone could be so much. And I know when people spoke to me like that, like I've had certain people in my life where I'll call him crying, like, babe, they just told me that they, you know, think they see me as an Academy Award winning actress or whatever it is. Like all of a sudden,
put that out there.
My whole life changed. I'm like, oh, wow. Like it's a validation or confirmation of something that's deep within you. And so, you know, I just already want to celebrate you ahead of time for saving 1 billion people's lives. Right? Like you've done it in my mind. You're doing it. You've done it. It's happening.
Yes.
And you know, the billion people, it's a lot of people.
It's a lot.
Right. Yeah. But we need that. And it's possible. You know, we just help, like, if you're listening, share this, you know, like so more people can know about this, because I bet you someone that's listening, several people listening know someone who's incarcerated or in rehab or like at the just super stuck, you know, and if they heard this, it might change their life.
Well, and I'll submit you this, perhaps the worst prisons in America are not made out of concrete and steel.
Totally. Please say that again.
Yeah. Like
100%.
So powerful.
Yeah.
So powerful. It's just between your two ears.
Yeah.
That's the prison that a lot of people are in. It's the one just between your ears.
We're constantly in our heads, right? In the past, which is depression, or the future, which is anxiety, not in the present moment. So whatever you guys are doing, as you guys are listening right now, in your car, in the kitchen, sitting on the couch, you know, let's be present, all of us. Friendly reminders to all of us here, because we're all human.
Yeah.
But, you know, one thing that I've been wanting to ask too, that just kind of came up in real time, and then we'll head to our last segment here, is, and I think you're the man to ask this, because you have the #1 prison curriculum and you're doing so much. People look up to you for this. Is, I feel that, well, this is a 2-part question. Do you feel that the prison system is broken the way that it's kind of set up? And whether it's a yes or no, the second question is, how, if you had to recreate the prison system from scratch, knowing what you know, what are some ways that you would create this new system?
Great question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I answer your first question all the time, and it's funny. I tell people that the prison system is not broken because it is working exactly as they designed it.
Wow.
That's right.
They designed it from an antiquated perspective. They designed it to put people in 5x7 boxes for a certain period of time and to open the door certain times of the day and to let them out when that time period expired. And that's how it's working. What I will tell you is that now that we know that doesn't work, what does work is unlocking people's potential. And unfortunately, I rarely come across an individual who got involved in the prison system to unlock people's potential. They got involved to lock people away. And so when you start to look at the things that work in life, such as communication, such as feelings, such as entrepreneurship is just an understanding of an idea and being able to articulate an idea to a massive group of people, right? That's all it is. And if you can do that, you could probably have a good relationship with your loved ones because you can articulate your feel, right? So it's all of these intrinsic values that come out of the idea of building a business or building a relationship or build whatever it is. And so when you look at the way that the prison system is designed, what I would do and what I am attempting to do is I'm attempting to put people into the prison system who have been there. I have 11 individuals on my staff who work for us full time, and they are all lifers, which means they got a life sentence and got released. Some of them rightfully, some of them wrongfully incarcerated. And these individuals being able to go in, nothing gives more hope to a guy who's doing 36 months than looking at a lifer that did 43 years accidentally.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
And so the way that I like to rebuild the prison system is I like to rebuild the human. I don't want to argue with folks. And I said this at the beginning when all the political organizations called me, freaked out. I don't want to get in like, is heroin worse than meth? And is black worse than, well, I'm not that guy. Like, I don't care. What I want to know is if we send you away for a certain period of time, how are we going to rehabilitate you so that this doesn't happen again? Period. And I'm going to take a lot of people's jobs over that. I'm going to take a lot of people's money over that. You know, this is a multi-billion-dollar industry, right? There's a lot of people that make a lot of money from this industry. And so where I want to go with the system as a whole is I want to find people's purpose. When you can give them their purpose and let them know that that esteem, that self-esteem, as we call it, comes from that purpose, and you can attach it while they're inside, and then we can engineer how to get to that purpose on the outside, their re-entry into society is simple. Why? Because they're not focused on the bus pass or the, you know, the shoes that they're not wearing. They're focused on that purpose. And when we all know, when you focus, what you focus on, you get more of.
Yeah. Yeah. So powerful, man.
There it is. You heard it from the man, Travis Richey.
Like mic drop moment. So powerful. I really hope everyone listening, just whatever industry you're in, I hope this sparks some ideas, you know, because I think this conversation, there's just so much expansion in it. You know, like you said, you don't even focus on the things that don't get you anywhere, right? You said, I don't care about this, I don't care about that. Like, so many people are focused on the for lack of better terms, the black or the white, or the yes or no, or the like, should we do this, should we do that? And it's like, no. Like, you're not even spending any time there. You're spending time on the powerful questions of like, what about the human? How can we heal the trauma? How can we unlock their potential?
That's it.
You know, and it's like, gosh, if everyone could do that, even parents to their kids, you know what I mean? Like,
what would our world look like?
What would our world look like? Just like, you know, so freaking profound. And I just, gosh, man, this episode is one of my favorite episodes. It really is. I knew it was going to be from the get-go. But before we wrap it up, Travis, is there any favorite finds that you have?
Third segment of Relationship Renegades, favorite finds.
Book, poem, movie, podcast.
Anything.
a food, whatever you want to, that's added value to your life that you think would add value to
Particular
the
silk
audience.
thread count
Yeah.
in your sheets.
Boy, I have so many favorite finds. Ice bath and breath work are one of my favorite. I don't know if that's a find, but I'm gonna use it. Definitely a favorite find of mine. One thing that is a favorite find is this. So when I like to write everything down, I've noticed that oftentimes the conversations that need to be happening at the dinner tables of America are not happening.
Mhm.
And I'll give you an example. When a father has his family around a dinner table and he's not happy with his situation financially, he's uncomfortable having financial conversations to his children. He doesn't look at himself from a position of authority. And that same goes from a spiritual perspective, a financial and a physical perspective. We are drowning in information and starved for wisdom. And so what I've done is for all the parents listening, I think this is pretty rad, and I think this is where some cool conversations can happen, is my 10-year-old writes his feelings and thoughts in here to me.
And is that a journal? So people listening that
are
watching.
Yeah. Oh, my apologies. Yeah. So this is his little journal, and it's our journal. And so he'll write in here, here's his goals, here's what they mean to him. And so I want to make sure that at a young age, he understands that setting these incremental goals is not only important, but it's also important for me to help him get there.
Oh, I love this. So wait, do you ask questions for him to answer in that journal?
Nope. I just want him to write. He hears me talk, and he hears me, on stage, and he hears me, go through my stories, and he's just picked up what his version of a journal would be, which is where I want him to go. What does it look like? And I just want to help him get there.
That's so cool.
Beautiful, brother.
I love it. That's definitely a favorite find right there.
Oh yeah, definitely want to take that. And it just speaks to the core and passion for me too. Like it's, I want to have, I have a passion for helping men become better men, right? Like better brothers, better husbands and boyfriends, just because I saw the exact opposite growing up. And so it's beautiful that we have the next generation coming. And if a lot of the fathers or mothers haven't healed their traumas, it's going to go into their relationships, and they can't be present and start to help them because they're still trying to figure out how to help themselves. And so it's beautiful that your focus again is with that service to everyone, including your kids. So
yeah, and Travis, I just really want to say thank you and celebrate you for being such a renegade. You know, at any point in time, you could have chose differently.
Yeah,
like you could have chose to stay stuck. You could have chose to stay angry and bitter and hated the world and hated people and ended back up in prison and in the system. Like you absolutely 100% could have chose that, but you chose to be a renegade and you chose differently. And I just hope that everybody listening notices that, like, the power of choice, right? Like we all have that power of choice. And like, what are you going to choose today? Are you going to choose to be the victim, the villain, the supporting character in your own movie? Or are you going to be the hero? And Travis, you chose to be the hero over and over and over again. And I just celebrate you so much.
Yes, I celebrate you too, brother. And like Travis would say, for those listening, whatever mess you're in, turn your mess into a message like Travis did and what he preaches. So that more people can find about, who you are, what you do, where can they find you?
If you have an individual, a loved one, who's incarcerated, accomplishedventures.org is all of our resources there. You can go to the website and chat in to anybody on our team, and we can connect our resources with your loved ones that are inside. And if you're on the outside and just looking to level up and going through some dark times, that's at convictedlife.com.
So cool. So awesome. Well, Travis, just any final mic drop, wisdom drop moments that you want to leave people with who are listening.
My goodness, mic drop moments. I would say, I really want to focus on if everybody remembers a couple things from me, it's twofold. It's not the conditions, but it's the decisions that determine our destiny in life.
And I would, while you're going through those conditions, while you're going through those dark times, while you're wading through those deep waters, don't put a period where God intends for you to put a comma.
Yes, brother.
That so much. Awesome. You guys, thank you so much for joining us here on Relationship Renegades on Fun for Life Radio. Thank you for listening. Thank you for continuing to co-create a world where healthy relationships are the new norm.
Thank you for seeking to understand.
And creating a space where we all feel safe, seen, heard, and loved. Travis, thank you for being here.
Yes.
We celebrate you. We support you. Please share this with anyone you think might need to hear it, and we will see you on the next one.
We love you all. Cheers.
Bye.